I decided to do a voiceover for this part because I have a family and at this time of night, my house can be a little loud. But anyway, I start here with Celtic sea salt and I need 2 cups. And I realized after I started to measure it that the whole bag was 16 ounces, which meant it was 2 cups. So I just pour the whole thing in there. But I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to get a colander out and I'm going to pull all of the good leaves off of this basil. And I don't know, I'm all the herbs that I've chosen for this. So I am following a recipe, sort of. Basically, the recipe that I'm following calls for equal parts herbs to salt. It's pretty straightforward. It listed a bunch of herbs you could use, and so I'm just using some of those, but I have the basil in there, and here I'm going to go ahead and add some thyme. I don't love the flavor of thyme, so I think I only added about 3 sprigs. If I was making this for myself, I probably wouldn't have added it at all, but I know that some people do like that flavor. And I think it's a good herb in an herb blend, so I did go ahead and add some. And then here I'm adding rosemary. Again, I'm pulling all the leaves off. I don't want the stems in because, I don't know, I just don't know if they're going to break up completely, and they could also add kind of a bitter flavor. So I think I added about 3 sprigs of rosemary. Rosemary it can almost get like a soapy taste if you add too much of it, so I didn't want to add too much. And then here I have 2 packages of sage, and I'm going to pull off all of the sage leaves, and I'm going to get those into my colander as well. I like the flavor of sage, and so I wanted it to be a little bit more of that. And then I'm not going to lie, I actually had flat leaf parsley as well in my refrigerator because I planned to put it in there, and I completely forgot it. So that did not go into my herb salt this time, but I got all of my herbs washed, and here I'm just going to dry them with a paper towel. They're about to get dried in the oven, and so they don't need to be perfectly dry, but I mean, they were soaking wet. So I do go ahead and I take one paper towel or one, row of paper towels, and I kind of roll it up, and then I do the same thing again to get a little bit more of that moisture out of the herbs. And then I go ahead and just take a second to clean up the kitchen here because it starts, I don't know, I like it to be clean when I'm working. So I got my herbs kind of just sitting there, and then, they're kind of getting some of that moisture out. And then now I'm going to go ahead and put those into my food processor right on top of the salt that's already in there. So I add all these herbs, and then there's a couple other things I'm going to add here. These are optional, so if you don't have them or you don't want to add them, that's fine. You don't have to. I'm going to add just the zest of 1 lemon. So I just take a second and zest this lemon, and then I'm going to add 2 garlic cloves. I think that the garlic might add a good background flavor. I'm going to be honest. I tried it when it was done drying, and I don't really notice it, so I don't know if it was necessary to go in there, but oh well. It wasn't. It's not going to hurt anything. So I did only add the 2 cloves, though, so maybe if you added more, you might actually taste it, but this is definitely an herb-forward salt. But anyway, I went to smack that garlic clove to get the peel off or whatever, and it flew onto the floor. So I had to go pick that up. But anyway, I've had a rough day in the kitchen. It feels like everything's going wrong today. It's one of those days, but I just give that a rough chop. And here's another thing that goes wrong. You see me trying to get my food processor started over and over and over again. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And I asked my husband, and he's like, well, you have the thing in, right? Don't you? I'm like, yeah. So he was like, let me take a look. So he had to take it apart, and then moment of truth, he fixed it for me. So I was very thankful because I was going to it wouldn't have been a big deal. I would have just transferred it all to the blender, but it was already all in the food processor, and obviously that's my food processor, so I didn't want it to be broken. But I got a large flake salt because I thought it would break up a little bit in the food processor, but this one really didn't. And I think that that's okay, but it definitely is a more coarse salt. I thought the final product would be a little bit more fine, and I was just wrong, I guess. I don't know. So I mean, the recipe I saw, I saw several, but they did call for a coarse salt, but I don't know. This one just didn't break up as much as I would personally like, but it's a good quality salt, and that was what was really important to me. But anyway, once I get that all mixed together and I don't see any big pieces of herbs anymore or anything like that, everything's nice and uniform, I'm going to dump this out onto a baking sheet that I've lined with parchment paper, and I'll just spread it as evenly as I can out onto that baking sheet. And you can dry this on the counter just like this for a few days, just kind of mix it around every now and then, or you can do what I did, and I just put it into a 200-degree oven, and I just every 20 minutes would take it out, stir it around, and I did that for about an hour and 40 minutes, and that was about how long it took. I had these little stickers, and I have these little jars that I thought would be perfect, and the stickers are just cute. They say, I think, handmade for you or something, and I found these tags that I had, and so I go ahead and I'm going to put one of the tags onto the little jar, and I was just trying to make it cute, nothing too crazy, but I'm trying to get this twine untangled, and apparently I'm not smarter than the twine because it definitely won and I gave up and I went ahead and got this other one out because I was tired of dealing with the other one. So I am just, like I said, putting this on there so that people know, like, oh, hey, what is this? Oh, it's an herb salt. All right, awesome. And I'm tying it on and everything's good right now. And then all of a sudden, once I get it tied on, I don't know, you'll see in a second. It's like the tag looks giant compared to the jar, but that's the only tag I have. And so I'm just trying to be happy with it, but I'm kind of like, this thing is like obnoxiously big. And so I'm talking to my husband, he's across the room, and I'm like, do you see this? Like it looks weird. It's so like the tag is so big. And he's like, I think it looks fine. I think you're just overthinking it. I'm like, maybe. But I'm getting kind of frustrated and I'm looking like, what else do I have? And then finally I'm like, you know what, whatever, it's fine. But anyway, here's what my salt looked like after the hour and 40 minutes. It was dry to the touch. It felt dry completely. There wasn't any chunks of like wet chunks of salt or anything. And so I am ready now to jar it up. I did let it cool for a little bit before I jarred it up, but I had pre-made 4 jars hoping that I would get 4 jars worth of the herb salt, and spoiler, but that is exactly what I got. I was so excited because I didn't plan that. I just was hopeful, and yeah, it worked out perfectly. I have 2 or 3 people in mind that I know I want to gift this to, and I may keep one for myself as well. But I definitely know 2 people for sure that I want to gift this to, and I think I know a third as well that would appreciate something like this a lot. So I will be gifting that to these people. And, I love a homemade gift. I love making homemade gifts. Last year I made homemade vanilla extract, and this year I wanted to do something different. So I went with the herb salt, and I think that they look so cute. I think it looks nice. I think it's useful. And even if you didn't want to gift this to somebody, you could make this for yourself. And I don't know, I think you should give it a try sometime, and I hope you enjoyed.